Road development brings negative impacts. Public curator needs funding. And goods and services become too costly in Pomio.
This is National EMTV News with Helen Sayer.
Good evening and thank you for joining me for Sunday's news. Gotti residents in Port Moresby are calling on the NCD authorities to divert the Gerahu 9-mile road or relocate them to a new location. This follows the increasing number of accidents and poor drainage after the road was built. 2 men escaped death early this morning after the driver lost control and plunged into the drain.
The Gerahu 9-mile road has for sure eased the traffic into the city. However, this significant development infrastructure has negative impacts on those residing near. Gotti residents of Gerahu Stage 1 believe the road was not engineered to standards.
On this whole road here, this area, this section here, is the only residence on this road that is 3 meters below the road. The road is actually 3 meters higher than each house, which means that when you are driving on the road, you actually look straight to the rooftop of each houses.
2 men are lucky to be alive as their car crossed its lane, hit the side rail and overturned into the drain at around 4 a.m. this morning. Residents say the men are lucky to be alive as this is the 10th accident on the stretch of road with a record of 8 deaths.
Background on 9 miles, I'm looking for some element of safety now. Because plenty car have accident inside of this rahap kam go. 9 placard, 10 logan, and Narbla City Pistabia. I'm stop yet na 8 plaman die finish.
Dangerous for the children, and our lives are at risk. And just this early hour of this morning, we had a car just fly into the neighbor's yard, which was very, very dangerous. Because normally around 5 a.m., our line said like exercise, no, this road there.
Poor drainage along the Gerahu 9-mile road has also seen floods experienced during the rainy weather. Residing for over 35 years at Gotti, this mother says before the road was built, nothing of such was faced. She says the house is also in a mess following the recent flooding.
House plummy and waters go inside all the time inside the house. Inside them like now. I'm not at well, we can stop now. House, little grain come, and backside, water go inside finish. Over something, and bagara portion, and stop portion.
The residents now want the NCDC authority to have an open dialogue with them to address these issues.
There is no other way, or there is no other way, office or wherever we can go. It's the NCDC have the sole responsibility to address this issue.
They say floods and the sewage problem and accidents will not have happened if the drain and road was constructed to standards. Jack Lapava Jr., National EMTV News.
The public curator and official trustee of Papua New Guinea needs funding to run its operations throughout the country. Public curator Jacob Papuna says for years the office has been underfunded and has been surviving mostly on administrative fees.
Public Curator and the Official Trustee is the office that is in charge of wills. For years, it has been facing financial challenges to carry out its duties.
So our biggest problem hurdle is financial support for us to really disseminate our functions and duties to the whole country.
The operational budget is 600,000, but this year the office was only given 400,000 despite the budget submission of 3 million.
The comparison is like in Public Trustee Queensland, they have for 4 million people only, they have about 300 to 500 staff running the Public Trustee Queensland. I'm not talking about New South Wales and all this, And they have financial backup of say 10 million, 20 million to run the office. In Greater Papua New Guinea with 8 or 10 million people, we have only 65 staff.
The regional offices in Lae, Mount Hagen and Kokopo also faces the same issues without funding and logistics.
And also our regional office, there's no funding. All the regional offices have got no vehicles. And then the 600,000 or 800,000 kina that they give yearly is absorbed in the head office alone. There's nothing goes to the regions. That's our biggest problem.
Mr. Popuna said despite all this, the office has adapted to a strategy of surviving within their means with the little they earn from administrative fees. Stacey Yallo, National, MTV News.
Pomio on the western half of the East New Britain province is relatively isolated. Apart from oil palm development and logging, economic development is very limited. The people have to contend with the high cost of goods and travel. Here's MTV's Scott Wide with this report.
Since the Rabaul Queen disaster that claimed 200 lives, many travellers have been wary of sea travel, with many more opting not to travel at all. Those who have a choice travel by plane, but for people who live in Pomio, the far western side of the East New Britain province, there are few options. Twice a week, a ferry operated by R&A Shipping travels to Pomio. It is relatively cheap and easy. It's either that or a harrowing 6-hour trip on the open sea on a banana boat. Since the Rabaul Queen disaster, shipping companies have become stricter. On this trip, cargo is weighed, the number of passengers checked in according to the vessel capacity. Inside, a safety briefing done by the deckhand outlines everything a passenger should know in the event of an emergency. Passenger shipping used to be big in the 80s and the 90s. Lutheran shipping in Ley was a dominant force for over 4 decades, servicing Momase, Oro, Milimbe, and in one instance the New Guinea Islands. That era is now gone. The void has been filled by smaller companies traveling shorter routes, but safety has become central to the operations of those smaller companies as well.
Before time, any machine was strictly time we have been rolled over. So time Rabaul Queen go down, we buy any motion. And something we've been safety equipment go ship. We've been activate the time shipping go down. So anyway, sana partner producer, so okay safety first priority the time we plan to travel so especially.
For Pomio, there has never been any real effort to build a road connecting Palmalmal, the district headquarters, to the provincial capital, Kokopo. Accidents out at sea are common. A few months ago, several passengers travelling from Pomio to Kokopo went missing. They have not been found. As the passengers and crew savour the simple pleasures of reeling in tuna, Ignatius Matapia, who runs a guest house in Pomio, reflects on the difficulties.
Today, Pomio and passenger ship ramps. At the same time, we are using balus, but first balus are expensive. The only chosen route where we can go some Kokopo from Pomio, and by must choose ship.
He says the distance between Pomio and Kokopo and the cost of travel leaves them with little option but to travel by ship.
This time, whether Bagarap, we have no chance. The two we have really much time in our road to Kokopo and also Pomio, and we too expensive.
On this trip alone, he spent close to 2,000 kina to transport his family of 5. While there's been much talk about the importance of oil palm in Pomio and the benefits of such a project, the lack of political will to build an important road link has left the people of Pomio cut off from Kokopo. Scott Wide, National MTV News, Palmalmal.
In the last 3 months of 2017, Palmalmal Secondary School didn't get all of its promised tuition fee-free funds. Throughout the year, the school suffered from ongoing payment delays, which forced the school administration to get food rations on credit. The school is now in debt with 120,000 kina owing to a local trade store.
It's 5 p.m. and dinner is being prepared for about 900 students at the Palmalmal Secondary School. For each meal, 4 kilograms of rice is cooked. Food rations and fuel make up a large portion of the school's annual expenses.
They are boiling 4 boilers of rice and 1 boiler for stew.
With rising costs, the school administration has reduced the size of meal portions per student, a decision that many have come to accept.
They will actually tell you the amount of food is not enough.
Ludwig Kambukia, a senior teacher at Palmalmal Secondary, says this year will be difficult.
With the location of our school, being a rural, being isolated from town, we spend so much with regard to freighting, rations, mess rations, and we spend so much to do with fuel for running the electricity. Given the non-payment or half payment of the tuition fee-free fees, this has caused a great downfall in running the school, given our location away from town.
Palmalmal Secondary used to be largely self-sufficient, its operations sustained by revenue generated by the school and by fees paid by parents. But since the government introduced the tuition fee-free education policy, the delays in the TFF payments have adversely affected the school's operations. Last year, the final portion of the TFF money wasn't paid. At the beginning of 2018, the school decided to charge 1,000 kina per student for school fees. Without the fees, the school would not be able to operate.
And so to run a school which is far away from town in a rural area like this, when we come to face the shortfall or half payment of the TFF, it's very disastrous for such a school like Palmal, which is located in a rural setting.
Kamu ni tong kam good lo dispatok to blongem, because dispatok to blongem ini toko sembai pujen dispat TFF na ino bin working the class. I confuse him board, na I confuse him management of all school. Now too long confuse him all papa mama too long. Lo dispat policy.
The late payment of the TFF money has also forced the school to obtain food rations on credit. It currently owes more than 120,000 kina to a local trade store. Last year, they made the decision to close early because they were unable to operate. Like many other schools in the country, Palmalmal Secondary is one of the many defying the government directive not to charge fees, simply because it doesn't make sense to wait for TFF funds that are not paid on time. The school administration knows that while the education minister's political statements issued out of Waigani look good on paper, it doesn't work for them. Scott Waide, National MTV News, Palmalmal.
The Media Council of Papua New Guinea says lack of understanding of the role of the media is the root of the latest attack on the media. This follows the assault of Post Courier's lay-based journalist Frankie Kapin by officers of the governor for Morbe on Friday. PNG has described the assault as unfounded allegations of bias and is ashamed to the public office to which they report. PNG has maintained that the media does not take sides and its role is to report on and inform its audiences, who are the people of PNG. The Media Council is urging for an immediate apology from the Governor's office and an assurance that no such incidents will be repeated in future. Meanwhile, the Media Council commended Mr. Kapin for reporting the incident to police and called on police in Leh to ensure justice is served. You're with National MTV News. We'll be back with more after the break. Welcome back. Electoral Commissioner Patilius Gamato has announced the dates for the 2018 local level government elections. They are as follows. Issue of wreaths and nominations open on Thursday, July 26th of this year. Nominations close on Wednesday, 1st August. Polling starts on Monday, 20th August. Polling ends Monday, 3rd September, and return of wreaths on or before Monday, 24th September 2018. Gamato said that Electoral Commission has already started preparation work to conduct the LLG elections. The concept of establishing Bullion Bank in the country is an option PNG should consider. Trade, Commerce and Industry Minister Weramori says PNG, as one of the major gold-producing countries in the world, has a lot to benefit from Bullion Bank.
Bullion is gold, silver or other precious metals in the form of coins or bars. It is normally used for trade on a market, and its value is usually determined by the value of its precious metals content, defined by its purity and mass.
Firstly, we just have got to make sure that we have got to benefit from the actual contributions from gold in terms of GDP to the economy. Under the present arrangements, all the gold that is produced are taken out of the country. But under our gold bullion bank arrangement, firstly, smelt and refine all gold that is produced in the country in PNG. And that all gold that leaves our source must bear our Kumu logo. What it means is that all the companies that are now sending the gold out of the country, whether it's ingots or smelted bars or in porphyry mines like, Block 30, in concentrates, we must now have got to smelt them in the country now.
Minister Mori says energy that is required for production should not be a problem for PNG, as sufficient energy will be provided by the second LNG project that will be coming on stream.
There will be sufficient energy available to build facilities that would both smelt and refine gold here in this country.
Mr. Mori explains that gold retained as bullion will serve as foreign reserves.
After the gold is refined, they can take them back, because they've got their own marketing arrangements that they need to serve. But don't forget, this is after it's the downstream side of it. So we have got benefications like job creations, so which basically employment opportunities, taxes and others that are basically, and also again that goes, flows into the country's revenue. Secondly, our own gold, our own shares from those mines are kept here. A portion of that will be retained as gold bullion.
He stressed that there are many benefits from bullion banks for PNG, especially in terms of rescuing PNG's falling kina. Stacey Yallo, National, EMTV News.
Delegates attending the APEC meeting in the country will be applying for a special visa. Chief Immigration Officer Solomon Kanta says this will ease the process of checking in upon arrival. The process will be done electronically.
Over 2,000 APEC delegates will be arriving in 10 days' time for a string of meetings in Port Moresby. Mr. Kanta says the immigration agency will be processing them through the new system. He says delegates will be using this special designated visa.
We will issue an electronic visa, and that visa is it's a special exemption designated events visa. And we will upload this information in our system that will automatically send the visa approval authority to each of those applicants.
The Immigration Citizenship Authority will be working closely with the APEC Authority to see that APEC delegates comply to be granted the special visa. Mr. Kanta says all details of those applying will be done electronically to avoid last-minute hiccups.
Ensure that every person that comes in for the APEC meeting is properly checked and screened. So we work very closely with the APEC Authority to do those checks for us. So the process that APEC delegation would apply for a visa is that they send all their details to the APEC Authority, and the APEC Authority will vet the information that they get against all the necessary checks, and including security checks as well, and then they will send those details to us.
The APEC visa will be for the duration of the meeting each delegate will be attending. With meeting dates nearing, over 1,000 delegates will be arriving in a day. Mr. Kanta says the new system will be able to screen 800 in less than 5 minutes.
This is the streamlining and an initiative that we have come up with to enable the processing of large number of applicants at any one time. So we can process up to 100 applications in a few minutes when we get those information.
Jack Lopava Jr., National EMTV News.
19 refugees from the Manus Regional Processing Center departed for the United States recently. Immigration and Border Security Minister Petrus Thomas says this is the third group after screening was done by U.S. authorities. The 19 brings the total to 84 who are now resettled as genuine refugees. Minister Thomas says remaining refugees will be screened and resettled under the deal with the U.S. government. U.S., Australia and PNG authorities are all working together to see this process be completed. While 80 have been processed, about 400 remain in the country. Chief Immigration Officer Solomon Kantha says more work needs to be done. He says some are going through medical assessment while others have voluntarily returned to their country of origin.
There have been about 500 that have taken on voluntary return. So we have about 400 or so still remaining in Manus and about 120 non-refugees.
South Pacific Exports is working to replace the import of malted barley for beer production with locally grown cassava. They have been trialling different types of cassava over 5 years and have now officially launched their cassava project in Morobe Province. Managing Director Stan Joyce says this project is a start to large-scale production of cassava in the country and will involve locals in growing the crop.
The processing plant will be built here at Erap in the Morobe Province. SP Brewery's cassava project is expected to boost the commercialization of the crop in the country and will also reduce imported malt used for beer production.
And it will then replace, we hope, up to 10% of the malt that we currently import to use in our beers. And that will result in significant savings for foreign exchange for Papua New Guinea.
The project has taken 5 years to develop, with 4 different types of cassava that have been trialled. The cassava processed here will be mixed with the starch syrup used to make beer.
And they were selected on the basis of the yield, because obviously the more yield you get, the more economically feasible the project is.
The Department of Agriculture and Livestock allocated 20 hectares of land for this project and will be working with the company, training farmers to grow cassava for larger scale production.
We will assist the company to multiply the seedlings, and we will give it out to the farmers to grow it at a commercial scale. That is our first role. Secondly, we will be training farmers how to produce it.
On Friday, the SP Brewery held an official groundbreaking ceremony for the processing plant. 3 trees were planted to mark where the processing plant's main office will be. Construction is expected to start in August this year.
I think more importantly, it will be the catalyst for what will eventually become a multi-million-dollar industry for Papua New Guineans to grow cassava for downstream processing.
Lucy Kopana, National EMTV News, Leh.
Don't go away. We'll have stories making headlines overseas when we come back. Stay tuned. Welcome back. With over 56,000 members on his Facebook page, Current Job Vacancies repost with LT, Lazarus Toa has assisted over 150 individuals to get full-time employment. Many more have benefited from this page with guidelines on how to construct CVs, cover letters and prepare for interviews. Toa says when he assists a citizen or family to get employed, it motivates him to help even more people get jobs.
Unemployment in PNG is a reality. Even as a graduate, applying for a job requires skills that many individuals lack. Lazarus Toa's Facebook page, Current Job Vacancies with LT, has assisted over 150 individuals get employment.
With over 56,000 members from PNG, the Pacific region, Philippines, Bangladesh and India, TOA's Facebook page continues to make an impact.
So when entering the workforce, I saw that my friends are still struggling and to getting themselves employed, which I usually help them in editing their CVs and letters, and also helping them by photocopying, scanning, printing, and applying on their behalf.
TOA states that the templates he shares on Facebook are results of his own experiences and research.
To search for up-to-date samples, but I'm trying my best to put it into PNG context. You cannot use a Google samples to apply it directly for a vacancy, because that sample might be convenient to Australia, or that sample might be convenient to Japan or to US. But you have to take the sample from Google or whatever sites, and you must put it into PNG context.
Pentaline, who has started her new job, was so grateful for TOA's Facebook page. Through his continuous posts and guidelines on CVs and interviews, she was a successful candidate for her current job. John, who also got assistance from TOA's page to get employment, stated that instead of buying the newspaper, it was easier for him to go online and see current vacancies.
By following the sample of the letter, the CV, and then as well he did ambin putisa latiblo, how to go about interview. So me looking more legislative, that was my guide. So me just benim deslana time me go interview, I was successful na. Me been sim work, so now currently me work stuff. So me looking the page was very helpful. And then
TOA lost both his parents at an early age and was raised by his sister and her husband.
What me blame, he's just he makes us so proud. We're so proud of him.
Although TOA has a day job, he is committed to helping individuals to get full-time employment. Because he has no office, he uses his home, time, and finance to assist people to get full-time employment.
I hope the government will look into that to help LT set up something, proper to help youths. Because currently there's a lot of unemployed youths, and like I'm working with Nature Park, I see piles of applications, and when going through them and like that, it's kind of sad, to see like people have experience but they don't really know how to write them down, put them.
Lilian Sopera-Kinea, National EMTV News.
Turning overseas now, refugees from Afghanistan first arrived on Western Australia's south coast in the early 2000s to work on the region's farms and vineyards. Now members of the Hazara community are taking the first steps towards starting their own businesses, creating employment and breathing new life into their adopted new hometowns.
In his homeland of Afghanistan, Hassan Haidari could only stand by and watch as the Taliban forced students out of his martial arts training facility at gunpoint.
As soon as they stop our martial arts school, then they've been looking for all young Hazara people to capture them and send them to fight for them.
Hassan arrived in Mount Barker as a refugee in 2001. After years working as a labourer, he's opened a martial arts school once again.
Now I'm trying to work hard. Even sometimes I'm cutting my family time to open the class. As soon as I see a few people from this community coming here, exercising, at the end of the day, they're smiling, and that's what I really want.
The local Shire says the Hazara community's commitment to work has been well received.
Coming from a war-torn country, the Hazara community knuckles down, they find work.
Afghanistan is a long way from WA's south coast, but a growing number of Hazara migrants are choosing to live here. And after years of boosting the local labour market, some are now opening businesses of their own. Faraz Ali has a contracting business, employing up to 17 staff.
I started as a casual worker, a couple of vineyards, and I thought that the industry needs proper setup. Then I hired the workers, supply to the company, and also quality check, accounts.
After years of hard work, Hazara migrants are beginning to see the fruits of their labour.
A successful prison art program in Melbourne, Victoria has earned hundreds of thousands of dollars to help support prisoners when they get out of jail. The program is credited with changing lives and stopping many from reoffending.
The colours all bleed out of the ground into the lake. The story with the dragonflies, that's a rebirth and good times ahead.
The good times are relatively recent for Robbie Wirramanda. He rediscovered his love of art and his culture while in prison, and now he's helping others to adapt to life on the outside.
Me and my grandmother, I remember doing art with her in Chinkapook, just off the edge of Lake Tyrrell. I find myself in that place, in the same shed, still creating art with others now, others that I help through this program. And it's a great place to be.
Robbie Wirramanda is the first artist to come through the post-prison program, to be now helping others to stay out of jail. 28% of Australia's prison population is Indigenous, and many leave jail homeless and soon reoffend. But that has changed for artists like Ray Traplin, since the Victorian government changed the law 2 years ago to allow inmates to sell artwork done in prison.
He was able to develop some economic independence and just avoid that pitfall and that trap of going back to the same circumstance that was driving often him back into prison.
Last year, art sales earned $280,000. This year is even bigger, with more than 200 works being exhibited.
I chose that one. I knew it would look really good here. It's such a vibrant work of art as well. When you think about these paintings were done in prison, it is remarkable.
Victorian Ombudsman Deborah Glass recommended the law change.
I think anything that encourages the rehabilitation of prisoners is an incredibly good return on investment.
This is the old man Goanna. He's just looking out over his country at Lake Tyrrell. When you're in the presence of one, especially the big old fellas, just checking you out, I think they're making sure you're doing the right thing on country.
It's a role Robbie Wirramanda has made his own.
Trukai Sports is next. Don't go away.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. Hebo PNG Barramandi's captain Asad Vala is preparing for the biggest tournament of his career. Vala will be leading the Barramandis in the Cricket World Cup qualifiers in Zimbabwe.
Asad Vala has played an integral role in the team's success over the years, having been one of the best bowlers for the Barramandis. He has a daunting task ahead of leading the team to take part in the World Cup qualifiers. The International Cricket Council has changed the qualifying format for the upcoming World Cup. They have reduced the number of teams to only 10, with the top 8 countries already qualified. With only 2 spots up for grabs, the Barramandis will be taking on 8 other teams to qualify to the World Cup. Qualifying to the World Cup will be difficult, but the team has shown positive signs and are in Brisbane, Australia, continuing their preparations. The World Cup qualifiers will be held in Zimbabwe from the 4th of March to the 4th of April, where 2 lucky teams will qualify for the Cricket World Cup next year. Elijah Levet, National EMTV Sports.
Stones Taekwondo, in conjunction with NCD Taekwondo, will roll out its martial arts program in Port Moresby this year. The Waigani Taekwondo franchise will be established at the Sir John Guy's Indoor Stadium next week. Master Jamuga Stone will lead the training at the indoor complex. Development of junior golfers will now be the focus for PNG Golf. President Peter Del Monte says training for junior players will eventually lead to identifying top golfers to attend the Youth Olympic in Buenos Aires in Argentina.
This year, PNG Golf will send top 2 young golfers to attend the Youth Olympic Games. President Peter Del Monte says with the upcoming events such as the Telecom Pennant Championships, junior players will be given an opportunity to participate.
It's all about developing the future of golf in Papua New Guinea, and it's all about, and it doesn't matter what sport we really talk about, it's all about the development of juniors. We've got to get the juniors off the street, we've got to get them in with some discipline. And it's amazing when you take them into that area and you start disciplining the kid where they can see that the elite sports.
He says while PNG has so much natural talent, junior development is one all associations and federations should invest in.
There's so much natural talent in Papua New Guinea, and it's what we've got to do as an association is actually go to them, because it's expensive for them to come to us. So we're putting a lot of funds into our junior development program, sending people out to remote areas because of the natural talent, and that's what we're trying to. 2018 is a really big junior development program for golf in Papua New Guinea.
He says while the team of professional golfers and the administration are working closely with junior players around the country, discipline of the players is one criteria that will apply when selecting top 2 junior golfers.
Natalie Mock, they're working every Wednesday with her to try to get her. She's at 7, handicap at 7, the entry level for the Youth Olympics 6.4. So it doesn't sound a lot, but it is. It's to get from 7 to 6.4 is quite hard. So we've got 2 people working with her full time just to helping her to develop to hopefully qualify for the Olympics. So it's a big thing for junior. I think junior sport in Papua New Guinea. I think everyone's got to get behind it.
He says the association will be keeping an eye on the junior players at the end of this month, as most of them will participate in the Telecom Pennants Corporate Golf Challenge. Godwin Eki, National EMTV Sports.
Trukai Sports will be back with more after the break. Don't go away.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. To the Pyeongchang Olympics, it's day 9 of the Winter Games, and Norway is leading the path with 24 medals in total. And they just added another gold to their tally after a Norwegian secured the win in the men's ski slope style. CNN sat down with the Norwegian Prime Minister to discuss why it's so important for the Games to remain fair for all athletes.
If people don't believe that these competitions are fair, then they won't look at them. Then they won't respect the athletes. It's fair competition, getting the best man to win, not the one with the best medical equipment. I think that's an important part for the popularity also of all of those great sports personalities that we have.
I would like to ask about North Korea, because obviously North Korea has been a very big part of this Winter Olympics with the delegations, the athletes here. How do you see the North Korean engagement in this Olympics?
Well, 6 months ago there was a tension. People were saying we are not sure we want to go to the Olympics because they were afraid of something happening. So for the Olympics and for the situation now, it's good that that tension is lower, that there are a joint Korean team, that there are sharing from North Korea, a sharing group coming here, and all of that is nice. I just think it's important to understand that if North Korea gets nuclear capacity, if they get program of missiles that they can reach anywhere around the world, this is not about an issue about South and North Korea, it's about destabilizing the whole world. And even if there's a sort of a charm offensive from North Korea here, it's important to not let that overshadow the fact that we need to have strong policies on pushing North Korea out of getting nuclear weapons.
Do you think it's important for the US to engage with North Korea as well?
It's important for the US and the Chinese and the Russians and the rest of the world engaged in discussion, but also push for a result and not become naive.
Now, obviously, you're here to cheer on your athletes, but also here to talk about sustainable development goals. Yeah. How important is it that sports is involved in this, that something like the Olympics can help push this forward?
Well, I think the Olympics idea is about peace, and it's about peaceful competition between countries. And it's very linked to the fact that the world has an agenda of 17 goals that should be reached by 2030. And that's why I think linking sports and linking the sustainable development goals is very good.
And that ends True Kai Sports. The weather details coming up next.
True Kai Sports. True Kai Sports.
The weather details were proudly brought to you by Dulux, celebrating 50 years in PNG and the only paint made in PNG.
Looking at the weather forecast for tonight and tomorrow, in the southern region, fine weather in Port Moresby, Kerema, Alotau and Popadeta, and a shower or two in Daru. In the Momase region, mostly fine in Leh, fine in Wau, and a shower or two in Medang, Wewak and Vanimo. In the New Guinea Islands region, a shower or two in Lorengau, Kavieng, Kokopo and Rabaul, and mostly fine in Kimbe and Puka. And in the highlands, fine apart from morning fog all across the region in Mount Hagen, Goroka, Kundiawa, Mendi and Wabeg. Forecast for small ships for the next 24 hours. Waters of southern PNG-Indonesian border through Torres Strait and Daru to Kiwai Island to Kerema, to Yule Island to Hood Point, to Samarai Island, and with waters of Samarai Island to Cape Vogel to Finschhafen, and with waters of Finschhafen to Vitia Strait, Dampier Strait to Siasi Islands to Long Island, and with waters of New Britain to New Island and Bougainville, and with waters of eastern and western Milne Bay Islands, including waters of Long Island to Medang to Bogia, Wewak to Aitape, Vanimo and northern PNG-Indonesian border, seas of 0.5 to 1.3 meters. Waters of Manus and its western group of islands, seas of 0.5 to 1.5 meters. A look at the ocean forecast for PNG areas. In the Coral Sea, seas slight with northwest to southwest winds at 10 to 15 knots. In the Solomon Sea, seas slight with northwest to southwest winds at 10 to 20 knots. In the Bismarck Sea, seas slight to moderate with northwest to southwest winds at 10 to 20 knots. And in the Pacific Ocean, seas slight to moderate with northwest to southwest winds at 10 to 15 knots.
Were proudly brought to you by Dulux, celebrating 50 years in PNG and the only paint made in PNG.
And that's been the news, sports and weather for Sunday, 18th of February 2018. On behalf of the entire news team, have a pleasant week. Good night.